Hello, fellow Planeswalkers, it's Scott, and we're coming to you on the official Caffeinated Gamer YouTube channel, and this is the last day of Wild's Eldraine spoiler season. So we only have a few cards to talk about today because we got one rare and one mythic, and we got the big common dump, and there were two commons that I found particularly interesting that I want to talk about here. But before we get into the cards, remember to like and subscribe to get further Wild Eldraine content throughout the Wild Eldraine standard season. We'll be doing a top 10 list, and we'll do some additional videos throughout the course of Wild Eldraine season for you. So let's dig in to our four cards for the day. So our first is Virtue of Strength. For 5 and 2 green mana, you get an enchantment. If you tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. So an incredibly powerful ability here on the enchantment side, where you can triple up your mana in all the basic lands that you have in your deck. Also, we have Garenbrig Growth for 1 green mana, where you can return target creature or land card from your graveyard. So that's a good value to get a land or a creature back from your graveyard. Now, probably we're not casting that early in the game generally, because we're going to be focused on ramping into Virtue of Strength. So we've already got a ramp deck in Standard. Okay, the Atraxa ramp deck, where we use Toperi Stomper on turn 3 to get it 1 additional land, and then on turn 4, ideally, we're using Invasion of Zendikar to put 2 additional lands down, and then if you hit your land drop, then you've got now 7 mana on the field, and now you're able to cast Virtue of Strength on turn 5. And then from there, you can ramp your way to victory, because pretty much anything in your deck is castable at that point with that amount of mana. And the deck that we're seeing with Atraxa uses a lot of basic lands that are of a variety of colors, because they want access to the land so they can hard cast Atraxa. So Virtue of Strength probably is one of the best cards from the set so far. Next, we've got Twinning Twins. For 2 and 2 blue mana, you get a Fairy Wizard. That's a 4/4. It has Flying, Vigilance, and Ward 1. And it also has the Adventure, Swift Spiral. For 1 and a white mana, you get an instant where you can exile target non-token creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So let's talk about the creature side first, and then we'll talk about Swift Spiral. So looking at the creature side, this is a very good blue magic card, because for 4 mana, you're getting a 4/4, which is a good value in Standard for that. And then you also have the ability to have Flying, Vigilance, and Ward, so it's got some amount of protection on it. But more importantly, the Vigilance protects it from the Wandering Emperor. When you're playing against a white deck, it's still the #1 removal card in that particular deck. Because this doesn't tap to attack, you never have to worry about the Wandering Emperor exiling it off the board and you losing that value that you've got. Now, let's talk about Swift Spiral. For again, 1 and a white mana, you get to exile a target non-token creature. So this could be one of your creatures that you're targeting to protect it from removal from your opponent, or it could be one of your creatures that you want to double down on its enter the battlefield triggers, or it could be a situation where you're looking to either on your turn or your opponent's turn remove a creature from combat so that you can take advantage of the situation. And I think there's an application for Swift Spiral in any deck that you're going to put Twinning Twins in. Next, we've got our 2 commons for the day. First, we've got Minecart Daredevil. For 2 and a red mana, you get a Dwarf Knight. That's a 4/2. It has an Adventure, Ride the Rails. For 1 and a red mana, you get an instant. Target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. And for those of you who played during Throne of Eldraine, you should remember this card, Rimrock Knight. For 1 and a red mana, you got a 3/1 Dwarf Knight. So same typical ability, but for 1 mana more. But it also gets that power and toughness boost. Okay, why is that important? Because it doesn't die to cut down now. So that helps to make this more playable. Now, Boulder Rush on Rimrock Knight costs 1 to give something +2, +0, but Ride the Rails for that 1 additional mana, now you're going to get a toughness boost as well. And I think that actually is relevant in the current standard, because you play this, you play Ride the Rail, you boost a creature, and now maybe it survives combat when it wouldn't have otherwise. Because we're not seeing as many first strike creatures as we had during the time when Rimrock Knight was played in the mono red deck. And because of that, I think we're going to see this as at least a sideboard option in some decks. But I think it potentially in the right deck, which might be Knights, I think it's main deckable. Next, we've got our last card of the day, Slumbering Keep Guard. For 1 white mana, you get a human knight. That's a 1/1. And whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you get to scry 1. And then it has the activated ability for 3 mana, for 2 and a white. Slumbering Keep Guard gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each enchantment you control. So this is a card that I see going into the Knight deck, if we do get a good Knight deck, because we need a 1-drop for that. But it also has playability in enchantment decks, because you can take advantage of its activated ability to give it +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. So let's talk about that side of it first. So right now we have a Selesnya enchantment deck that is seeing play in Standard. It's got a number of good cards in it, and this might be a way to push that deck a little bit further than it currently is. Being able to activate Slumbering Keep Guard's activated ability really could help in that deck, especially in the later part of the game when you really don't have a lot of cards to cast. So this could now become a mana sink for you that could push your deck over the top and win a few more of those close matchups. Now, also we have application in the Knight deck, and one of the things we're definitely going to see in the Knight deck are some enchantments, because we're probably going to see the Virtue in white in the Knight deck because it supports that, because its adventure create our 2/2 Knight token. So I think in that deck we may see that as well as something we might be able to activate and take advantage of some of the virtues from the set in that particular deck. All right, so that's our cards from Wild of Eldraine spoiler season, and I hope you've enjoyed the video series. Remember again to like and subscribe to get further Wilds of Eldraine content throughout Wilds of Eldraine Standard Season, where we'll be talking about our top 10 list coming up, and we'll be doing some deck techs along the way. Thanks for staying to the end of the video, and I will see you in the next one.